Hi, folks. I'm Gene McLoughlin. I'd like to welcome you to Let's Talk About. Today we have an interesting guest, David Hernandez. David is a businessman here in town. He is also an entrepreneur and a civic activist. And we're pleased to welcome you, David.
Thank you, Gene. Pleasure to be here.
Nice to have you in today.
Thank you.
David, we can get into a little bit of your background. What is your background? What your education? And we can get into what you're doing here in Old Bridge.
Sure. Well, first I'm a funeral director. As you had mentioned, I like to think of myself as an entrepreneur as well, looking for various opportunities and ways to get involved. But my education, my background is a degree in mortuary science and legal studies, ultimately from Mercer County Community College and then St. John's in New York.
Okay.
And now own and operate a number of funeral homes throughout the state. But my main office is right here in Old Bridge.
Do you have a background or your family background in the funeral industry? Are you a first generation? Or?
Yeah, exactly. So first generation funeral director. A lot of our business is through family. So actually what I like to say now is that my business is now a family business because my mother and my father helped me through the business. My sister has helped me through some HR things and now my wife. And so it certainly has been a big help in growing my business. But initially I just decided to become a funeral director and chased whatever avenues I could to get into the business.
Okay, well, thank you. David, one thing, you mentioned to me off the air that you were a recipient of a very prestigious award. You want to discuss that a little bit?
Yeah, well, thank you. So as a funeral director, we're part of the National Funeral Director Association. And by being a part of that association, you are bound by a code of ethics as well as opportunities. And what we applied for was what's called as the Pursuit of Excellence Award, which is activism in the community, customer service excellence, continuing your education. So we applied for that and we won, but then as a recipient of that, the top 3 received what's called as Best of the Best. And we received that last year for the Old Bridge facility. So we're basically termed as the top funeral home in the United States, and I'm proud to bring that to Old Bridge.
Fantastic, very rewarding.
Yes, yeah, no, it was a high. I'm too young to retire, but that would have been a good one to retire.
I was going to say that'd be a good one to leave on.
And win the Super Bowl.
David, how do you get from mortuary science to publishing a newspaper?
Yeah,
what got you into journalism? And folks, we're going to be talking about David's publication in the next few minutes.
Well,
Dave, how did you get there?
Great.
All around Old Bridge. How did we get there?
It's a core philosophy of what I do as a funeral director, which is being a part of the community.
Yes, sir.
You have to understand the folks that are calling on you, as well as understand their background. So, being a funeral director it's so important to understand the community and the people that are in it.
Yeah.
So, by being a part of the community, you naturally get involved in various civic organizations, or you volunteer on a number of levels. And one of the things that I enjoy is the business community. So I was blessed enough and fortunate enough to be part of the Old Bridge Business Alliance and part of the Mayor's Office of Economic Development. And through discussions there and my desire to see this town marketed in the best possible light for all of the attributes that we have here that are great for our town and for the residents and for businesses, we came up with an idea of possibly some kind of newsletter or something to get out to the people. And then it turned into a newspaper. And then discussions with our mayor and business administrator and our economic development officer, Steve Mamakis. We said, hey, let's do a newspaper. And they said, well, look, we don't want it to cost taxpayers any money, so we got to figure this out.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And I said, look, you know what? If you want, I'll take a crack at it, and I'll give it my best shot and see if we can make this thing work. And it's been about 2.5 years, and
that's what I was going to ask you. You've been at it 2.5 years now. That time has flown since you brought the first edition.
Yeah. Well, now I've learned in the publishing business that a month goes by very quickly because, as you know, you got to get the ads lined up, you got to get the editorial in, you've got to get your columnists set up. So before you know it, the month is here and it's gone. So it's gone pretty quickly.
Dave, did you test alternate names or formats, or did this just emerge as a traditional newspaper?
Yeah, that's a great question. Originally we looked at digital content because obviously today so much is in the digital sphere, but we realized to be able to get saturation quickly, there's nothing better than the mailbox. And we didn't want the delivery method to be thrown in the driveway because we knew ultimately that this was going to be advertiser supported. So we needed to make sure that the advertisers received the most bang for their buck. And for me, as a business owner and having advertised in a number of different mediums, I never understood how I would get my rate of return back if I advertised in a paper and it was thrown in the driveway and maybe chopped up by a snowblower.
Right, I
or
know
soaked
that
in the rain.
happens so frequently around
Right.
here. Yeah.
So we said, you know what the best method is to have an all-color publication that's mailed monthly and put right into the mailbox. So people are either forced to read it or forced to throw it out, as we say. But that was really the idea. The name, we just figured, you know what, it's about Old Bridge. We were going to put it's about Old Bridge, but it didn't have a ring, so we just said, you know what.
But all around Old Bridge, I think, has a nice ring to it.
Yeah, and that's what we are. That is exactly to the core of our philosophy, is we are all about Old Bridge.
And Dave, you make some of these copies available in the library too, I believe, right?
Yeah,
Some of
so
them
we bundle them out. So
Right.
right now it's mailed to about 26,000
Is that what it
homes
is?
and
Wow.
businesses in the township. But we make them available at the library. The library does take it to the satellite office in Lawrence Harbor. And then we distribute throughout a number of businesses where they have high traffic flow, similar
Yeah,
to
the delis and places like that. Yes, I've seen it. Yeah.
Giuseppe's, Club Metro, Raritan Bay. We take it to a number of the churches. So folks do have opportunities, but your best shot is always going to be at the library if you don't receive it in the mail.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Dave, do you have a traditional staff? Do you have an editor? Do you have a photographer? Do you have reporters? How do you gather? I know you have the department heads, but how do you gather your information?
Yeah, so it really just started out with me just saying, hey, we're going to try to figure this thing out.
Yeah.
And I learned very quickly how consuming this paper can be. So we grew from just this entrepreneurial kind of mindset and, hey, I'm going to figure out a way to do a paper, to we have now 2 advertising executives. We have a graphic designer. We do have writers, but it's kind of pick and choose. When a topic does come up. Now I have a full-time proofreader that proofs the whole paper as opposed to me. So if you look at some of the earlier editions, you'll catch my amateurism in publishing. But now I truly believe the product is as great as it can be. We have a 30-year newspaper veteran that is writing for us now, Old Bridge resident, as well as proofing. So we really feel that the quality of the content has stepped up. We always felt that the medium was great because it was full color, nice tabloid, but now the content has truly caught pace and stepped up.
How did you sell the various administrative people, the department heads, on contributing to a column every month?
Yeah, so
was that a big sales job?
Yeah, it was and it wasn't. The easy part was they believed in it. So I really didn't have to sell the concept. I had to sell the work part. Where hey, you got to write 400 to 600 word article every month and get it to me on a specific time. But when I went to the mayor's office, he was like, "This is fantastic conduit for him to get to every person."
Oh, absolutely.
Similarly with our business administrator, started with Chris Marion, and now it's Himanshu, and. For them to be able to take the notes from what's happening in the council meeting, if someone's not going to watch the whole 2-minute council meeting or sit there, they could catch the cliff notes of it now. Yeah. Similarly with Nancy, our library director.
The library, right.
And Diane, who recently retired from the senior center. But when they started writing about the senior center and all the things that happened there, she said the attendance went up 15%.
Did it really?
And I mean, that, for me, coming in from the business side, hey, we're going to market the town, and now see a social service that is starting to impact some of our seniors. Yeah. That's been probably the most rewarding part of this whole project for me, is seeing folks connect with the various level of services that we have in this town.
Yeah, and I see you also brought in like a pharmacist who discusses some drug issues. I see Lloyd Pulley, Pastor Pulley, you brought him in, and he's a very articulate guy.
Yeah, fantastic. So Pastor Pulley, they have a radio station here in town that broadcasts all the way into Manhattan now. There's about 5,000 attendees and between adults and children that go through his church on a weekend.
Well, he gets tremendous patronage because the traffic coming out of there.
I was going to say, you see
516
between 8 and 10 on a Sunday.
Yes.
But, so I felt it was important for us to be able to have some uplifting, positive messages, because ultimately what we are not is a breaking news paper. So my concept was, and as a father of 3 young children, and this being in the mailbox, I wanted if a child grabbed it, a 12-year-old, 10-year-old, and they opened it up and started to read it, that it would be all positive things, maybe things about the township that they wouldn't understand, but also things about the school, about happenings in town, content for all here in Old Bridge.
Dave, how do you get news that's, I know you say you don't deal with breaking news, but things that come up, do you proactively seek things out? I'm talking about like the volleyball team just had a great year, or some of the Camp Robin children go to skating school. Do you proactively seek these out, or do they report to you, or do you have them on a reporting basis?
Yeah,
How do you work that?
so in the beginning, it was a lot of that scouting, right? So
Yes,
you needed to go out and find content.
Right, that's what I'm getting at.
Because ultimately, in any publication, in any medium, as you understand, content is king. Right?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So we needed to find good content, and now that we're going into coming out of our rookie phase here,
I like the way you phrase that.
we have quite a bit of content coming into us. So actually, we're starting to have more content than we can even publish. So that's where
Really?
we're starting to get into our social media arms, where if it doesn't make the cut for the actual paper, now it's going into Facebook and it's being publicized on other mediums. So between the various offices, between the civic organizations, I'm involved in quite a bit, not everything, but quite a bit comes into our office and our staff, and we have a blanket email that says, hey, send us anything that you have.
Oh, you do? Okay,
yeah.
I was going to get to that, yeah.
And we've gotten some pretty neat stories from residents that we've published, and then has kind of worked its way
I've noticed those, yeah.
into the mayor's office and then into a home news. So it's been really interesting to be that Old Bridge go-to now.
Do you limit the size of the paper? I don't know how many pages this particular issue has, but do you try to limit the number of pages, or do you expand as you need to?
We've gone up to 28 pages during election cycle when we publish all the voting locations. We typically do try to keep it between 20 and 24 pages. It's a tabloid, it's a monthly. So, the idea with the paper is that someone grabs it, they could chew on it for a little bit, put it down, maybe chew on it again, or get through it in a good read.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately where we try to be. And then it's a business, so it's economics, right? We can't publish a novel every month.
You can't publish in the New York Times.
Right, exactly.
Right.
So that drives a lot of the content as we see fit.
Okay, well, thank you, Dave. David, you just hold your thoughts for us, please.
Great.
We're getting ready to take a break. Folks, we're talking with David Hernandez, who is a local businessman, an entrepreneur, and a civic activist, and we'll be back in a moment to discuss more of his activities. Please stay with us.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your closet. Still no jobs? Just more stuff? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed, and they're the stuff inside your stuff. Our job is to unlock those jobs, and it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
fast-paced family life in need of a slowdown?
Hello, I'm Dr. Spruce. Did you know all those green shapes on maps are parks and forests? It's true. Visit discovertheforest.org and plan to visit a park or forest near you, instead of just wondering what it would have been like.
While the word forest might make you think of distant lands from far, far away, please note parks and forests are closer than you think, which means things like beautiful scenery, fresh air, and family time are also closer than you think.
People think I'm trash, but they're wrong. Today I'm just an aluminum can, but one day I could be a stadium.
Hi, folks. Welcome back to Let's Talk About. Our guest today is David Hernandez. As I mentioned before, David's a businessman. He's in the mortuary business. He is also an entrepreneur. He is the publisher of All Around Old Bridge. And as you'll see in a moment, he's a very involved in civic affairs. David, if we can come back and pick up a little bit on the newspaper,
Sure.
What do you find the general awareness of the paper is? How do people know about it? They come to you. Do you do any metrics on it, readership? Or?
Yeah, sure. So, with the newspaper, what it goes out by is circulation and subscriptions. So,
Yes, sir.
As of right now, we have 26,000
Right.
homes that it goes to, about another 1,000 that are bundled throughout the town.
Mm-hmm.
So the metrics that come back are about 50,000 impressions.
Really?
Meaning opening it, looking
Wow.
at it, and reading it. We have about another 10,000 on our issuing website, which is issue.com. So basically, it's a website where you can upload editorial, magazines,
Right.
newspapers, and it flips, very similar as if you would flip a book.
Right,
So
and
it's
I've
kinda-
read it on the website.
Okay, great.
I've read it on the website.
So
yes, sir.
on there now, what's interesting about that is it tells you how much time people spend on a particular page, on
Okay.
a particular column. So as you've seen our paper go through various iterations
Yes.
and columnists and topics, we've seen where we've gotten a lot of traction and where we've gotten zero traction. So, which is why the township heads constantly have the highest readership or time spent on their page because people want to know what's happening
They want to know what's
in their
happening.
town, which is we were talking a little bit off air,
Right.
where the larger publications, the nationally or state syndicated papers are having a hard time, but hyper-local news, if you're looking for Old Bridge news, where do you go? You go to the All Around Old Bridge, you go online, you go to the township website. Things like the Suburban have a place, but it's shared with 8 different towns.
Yes.
So depending on what town has a hot topic or not, we may get coverage, we may not. So when you want to learn about Old Bridge, this is becoming the resource for township events, awareness, and updates.
Well, as I told you off air, I use it as a resource too, just to see what's current and what we can bring to the TV screen.
So do I
Yeah.
get a assistant producer credits
It
on
works.
that?
No, you don't have to do that, Dave. That's okay. That's okay. We'll stay away from that
Right.
for now. Dave, one subject does come up, and you mentioned before about the financing. You touched briefly on it, but how is the paper financed? Do
Sure.
you do it? Do you have advertising?
Yeah,
revenue?
so like any project in the beginning, it's seed money,
Yes,
and
sir.
that came from myself personally.
Yeah.
It was very, very important to not only the administration here as well as myself, that the residents as well as the businesses that are in town that do receive this paper understand that not a single cent or dollar of tax revenue went into this. So private investment. And then ultimately, it's advertiser supported,
Right.
Which is, and we wanted to make sure that the ratio from content
I was
to
gonna
ads
ask you about that,
was
ad to-
correct.
yeah.
And you'll never see this thing overdone, or you flip through the first 4 pages and it's all advertisement. This isn't a business that I'm looking to reap tremendous investment or rewards from. It's really, hey, look, if this can cover its own cost, it's a home
Yeah.
run. It's a home run to me. So it's delivering a message, it's delivering a product to the town. But what's really neat through the Economic Development Office is it's affording small businesses an opportunity to reach their client base.
Yes.
So think of a local bakery that's here in town. 95% of their business probably comes from Old Bridge. How would they effectively be able to market to Old Bridge before?
Right.
Well, they'd have to go into Suburban or TV or billboard, maybe get some people, maybe not. Now they're getting 90% saturation in the town for less than a penny You
Yeah.
know, and the value that we're creating for small businesses is great. And then we go all the way up to institutionalized businesses like Raritan Bay,
Right.
All American Ford, Quality Chevy. So we have some of the bigger players in there too, which is neat because it's not just all small business supported.
Do you have sales reps, sales reps that actually go out and solicit the business?
Yeah.
You do?
So we have two. You'll never see an all-around Old Bridge representative knocking on your door and taking time away from your business. I don't believe in that. In fact, I don't like that when people come into my business.
That's an excellent point.
So what we do is we generate awareness through the paper. People call us, and then we follow up on it. There may be personal contact where someone says, "Hey, I heard about this paper. Yeah, I can follow up with you," or I could have one of our marketing representatives follow up with you. But you've never seen and never will see a cold call walking in. I don't believe in it. I don't like it, and that's not what I would want from any of our representatives.
I think you're right on with that. I salute you for that. I really
thank
do.
you.
Dave, if we can segue to your other activities, and you do wear many hats as we've discussed. You mentioned here the Old Bridge Business Alliance,
Sure.
and it's reflected in the newspaper. You work with Steve Mamakis, our Economic Development Director. How's that worked out?
Fantastic. Steve has really got a firm grasp on the township.
Yes, sir.
On some big projects that have come into town. But again, he also believes in the small business and coming alongside small businesses and being a conduit. In government, it's you're not there to help people be profitable or run their business. You're just there to coach them along and give them equal opportunities within the township. So sometimes people blur those lines. He's not there to run their business, but he's there to get them in the door, help them raise awareness, and then ultimately, be a conduit to the business community, and then into ultimately the mayor's office, as well as building and permitting and some of those projects.
Okay. How are you segueing from the Business Alliance Old Bridge to the Chamber of Commerce, your Vice President of Chamber of Commerce, which is a little broader than just Old Bridge? I believe
Right,
it's still
correct.
Sayreville is involved.
Sayreville, South Amboy.
What's your function there, and what's the function of the Chamber?
Again, the chamber it's a parallel route to the Old Bridge Business Alliance.
Yes, sir.
Old Bridge Business Alliance runs with directives from the mayor's office and economic development, where the Chamber of Commerce believes in supporting and helping all businesses network, building a strong business community, as well as there's a significant fundraising arm. So we provide scholarships to all three high schools, as well as the private high school here in town. We bring in topics to help business owners help manage their business, manage their employees. So it's a little bit more of an educational fundraising arm, but it helps build community, which ultimately helps the fabric of economic development in any town.
Okay, thank you. David, one thing in your credentials, you also mentioned your participation with the Raritan Bay Medical Center. And this seems to be blossoming now, particularly under the guidance of Meridian.
Sure.
What are you doing over there?
So my wife and I got involved with Raritan Bay first through a philanthropic donation to help.
Really?
We started the first palliative care program here in Old Bridge. And then through that, they asked me to become a board member of the foundation to help build awareness of the hospital. Shortly after, Meridian came in, acquired Raritan Bay, and then Meridian merged with Hackensack. So what we have now in Old Bridge is a sophisticated, leading medical center that is really going to be set up for the future here in Old Bridge. When you think of, there's 73 hospitals in the state of New Jersey, and Old Bridge has one of them. So it's a significant improvement to our town. And we're building a $40 million emergency room to compete with some of the hospitals up Route 18 and south on 18. So I'm very blessed to be a part of that. I'm part of governance of the foundation board and make sure that all of our board members are complying and being active in the community, and then ultimately just building awareness. Raritan Bay, the history and the reputation was never, truly the best in the area.
No, that was always it. It was freehold, and then you had to go to New Brunswick.
Yeah, exactly. So now the idea is we have world-class leading technology, doctors. You see doctors with their business cards. It says, New York, Princeton, Old Bridge.
Yes.
You know, and that's tremendous.
That
that's
is
tremendous
news. Yeah,
for us.
it really is.
So it's exciting to be a part of that big institution here, and ultimately that's going to impact lives here. That's going to impact business, property values. You know, when you have a strong hospital, a strong school district,
definitely.
You know, all those things all work together. So, and it's something that I enjoy, and it's a little different. It's a little different for me. So it changes pace a little bit.
Okay, and lastly, if I can just touch a little bit on your relationship with the Calvary Chapel with Pastor Pulley.
Yeah.
How'd you get involved in that? Are you a person of faith, or?
Yeah, absolutely. So very blessed to come from a long line of pastors and missionaries in my family.
Okay.
I graduated from a Calvary Chapel, Calvary Christian Academy in Philadelphia. So when I moved out here, we just found a local Calvary here, but been associated and involved with Pastor Pulley for going on about 15 years.
Have you really?
And recently was invited to be part of the leadership of the school. We have a great school there, 300 plus students from K to 12. And it's been so neat to see the mission of academics as well as spiritual growth in some of these young people's lives here in Old Bridge. And we have a fantastic school district here in Old Bridge.
Yes.
We have St. Thomas the Apostle. We have St. Ambrose for elementary to middle school. We have Calvary. So it helps as far as an alternative for families that may be seeking a different avenue of education for their children.
But you also have K through 12. That implies high school.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's a fully accredited high school.
Absolutely, yeah. And,
really?
and the
I
kids
don't
now.
think anybody knows that.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you have probably about 1,000 students, K through 8, here in the township between St. Ambrose, St. Thomas, and Calvary. And then there's not that high school alternative. So Calvary is certainly that alternative. They just built a brand new facility on White Oak Lane outside of theirs. So it's a beautiful campus.
Wow, that's interesting. I don't know if enough people know about that even existing over there.
Yeah. In fact, as part of the Chamber of Commerce, we always did 3 scholarships to the 3 high schools, and now just this year we added Calvary because it's a true high school, part of our Chamber of Commerce footprint. So now we have 4 scholarships that we give out.
I don't know how many more, excuse me, I don't know how many more hats you wear, David, but you're doing a great job.
Well, thank you.
David, when you look at your business right now, your entrepreneurial business, the newspaper, you have any plans for expansion that you care to share with us? I don't want to put you on the spot.
Yeah,
Anything you're looking at doing?
You know, this works. I think this is lightning in a bottle, to be honest with you, Gene, as far as all the right players, all the right timing. It takes a lot of investment, personal investment, as far as understanding the township.
Yes, sir.
So I don't see an all-around Marlboro. I don't see an all-around Cherry Hill.
Right.
You know, my focus has always primarily been my funeral business, so that's where I'm going to stay.
Sure.
And then recently investing in some other opportunities, but that's where my heart is.
Okay. One last thing before we go. If people are interested in placing an ad in your newspaper or finding out more information, is there a phone number?
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I'm going to have to probably look at my phone to get it. But the best way to get us is to email editor at allaroundob.com. That's the fastest way.
All around OB, the word spell out allaroundob.com.
Yeah, editor at allaroundob.com. That comes right into the news office. Multiple people will get the chance to see that, and then we'll disseminate it out to the proper individuals.
Okay, we'll pop that on the screen, just a little super on there.
Thank you.
Well, David, I certainly want to thank you for coming in today. You've been a very interesting guest. I want to wish you the best in all of your many ventures.
Appreciate it.
And we hope to see you again here. If something comes up, we'd like to come on. Please, want to invite you right now.
Great.
You deliver another message about some activity, please.
I'll take you up on it.
Thank you again for coming in,
Thank you very
David.
much.
It's been
All right,
swell.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Folks, we've had the pleasure of talking with David Hernandez, as I've mentioned, a businessman, an entrepreneur, a civic activist here in the township with this interview. This has been Let's Talk About for this time. I'm Gene McLoughlin. We'll see you again next time. Take care.